The night it all began, the house smelled faintly of rosemary and warm bread, my usual Sunday ritual. I always tried to make Sundays special, even though Daniel was an adult now, 30 years old and married. I clung to the little traditions that had once made our tiny family feel whole. That evening, I waited for him and his wife, Lisa, like I always did. The dining table was set with the plates Daniel loved since childhood, the scratched blue ceramic ones, the ones he said tasted like home. The candles flickered gently, their soft glow brushing. The framed photos lining the walls, photos of us through the decades. There was the picture of Daniel at 5 years old, missing his front tooth, holding a paper crown. Another of him winning his high school award, me standing proudly beside him, my hand on his shoulder. And of course the last photo we took together before his wedding. A picture that already felt like a lifetime ago. I kept glancing at the clock. 6:10 p.m., 6:25 p.m., 6:40 p.m. They were late. Lately they were always late. But I told myself it was just life. Marriage, work, stress. Everyone changed. It wasn't personal. Still, a familiar ache tugged at my chest, the same ache I felt each time Daniel visited less, called less, smiled less when he saw me. The same ache I buried under excuses. Asterisk, he's busy. Asterisk, asterisk, he's tired. Asterisk, asterisk, he's growing up. Asterisk, growing up. The phrase felt like a knife. I had raised Daniel alone after his father died. I was 22, just a frightened young woman with barely enough money to keep lights on. Yet I swore on every sleepless night, every empty stomach, and every tear shed in silence that Daniel would never feel the poverty and fear I grew up with. I worked as a waitress by day and cleaned offices by night. When I came home, my feet swollen and my eyelids heavy, Daniel would already be asleep in his tiny bed. I kissed his forehead and whispered promises I wasn't sure I could keep. You'll have a better life than I did, my love. I'll make sure of it. People sometimes joke that Daniel and I were more like a team than a mother and son. It was always we. Asterisk, we asterisk can do this. Asterisk, we asterisk will figure it out. I never realized the day would come when it would no longer be we, when I would suddenly become invisible. At 7:03 p.m., the front door finally opened. Daniel walked in first, tall and well-dressed, smelling faintly of cologne I had bought him last Christmas. Lisa followed behind him, her heels clicking sharply against the wooden floor. Mom, Daniel said, not with warmth, but with a tone one might use toward a neighbor, polite, distant. You're late. I said softly, smiling to hide my disappointment. Dinner might be a little cold. Lisa's eyes flicked over the table. We actually already ate. We were out and well. We didn't want to be rude, but we were starving. The words hit harder than they should have. I had cooked their favorites, honey, roasted chicken and garlic bread. I had started cooking at 3 p.m., so everything would be perfect. But I swallowed my hurt. That's all right. I said gently, you can still sit with me while I eat. Daniel didn't sit. He exchanged a quick glance with Lisa, a glance full of quiet understanding, as if they had practiced this conversation. Mom, Daniel began, we need to talk to you. My heart tightened. That sentence never meant anything good. Lisa clasped her hands together. We've discussed this for months, Maria. And we think it's best for everyone if you move out. Move out. The room spun a little. This is my home. I reminded them I bought it. I raised you here. Daniel sighed, rubbing his forehead. Mom, we need space, privacy. Lisa and I want to start a family, and having you here it's suffocating. Suffocating. The word felt like a slap. I looked at Lisa. She lifted her chin, expression unreadable. This isn't personal, she said, but you living here isn't convenient for us. Convenient. There it was. The truth wrapped in a polite bow. But I don't understand. I said softly, Daniel, I've supported you your whole life. This is my home, I thought. Don't make this dramatic. Daniel cut in sharply. You're nothing to us in this situation. You don't get to decide. The words hung in the air like smoke. Nothing to us. Something inside me shattered. I stared at him, searching for the boy I raised, the boy who used to run into my arms after school, who used to say, Mama, I'll take care of you when you're old. But that boy was gone. Standing in front of me was a man who no longer saw me as his mother, but as an inconvenience to be removed. Daniel continued, voice flat. We've already transferred the deed. The house is in our names now. You signed the papers 2 months ago. My breath caught. I signed refinancing papers, you said. He shrugged. You should have read them. Not my fault. Lisa stepped closer to him, a satisfied softness in her smile. We just want our life, Maria. You can find somewhere else to go. Somewhere else to go. Those words echoed in my chest, bouncing off 30 years of sacrifice. Finally, I felt something shift deep within me. Not anger, not yet, but a cold, hollow emptiness. A realization. They didn't love me. Not in the way I had loved them. And love without respect is nothing. I stood slowly, my hands trembling, but my voice firm. If this is what you want, Daniel, I said quietly, then I'll go. He nodded, already relieved, already dismissing me, but as I looked at him, this man I had given my life to, I felt something else rise. Inside me, a memory, a secret, a truth Daniel had never known, and in that moment a calmness washed over me, because he had no idea what I still held in my possession. No idea what I could and would do. The cold night air stung my face as I stepped outside, the weight of a half-packed suitcase dragging behind me. The door shut behind me with a soft click, gentle, almost polite. But final, I stood on the porch of the home I had built with my own hands, staring at the windows glowing warmly from inside. The house looked so peaceful, so inviting, but inside it there was no space for me anymore. I whispered to the wind, more to myself than anyone else. I raised him for 30 years, and he threw me away in one evening. The truth was heavy, too heavy. My breath trembled in the cold. I felt smaller than I had in years, smaller than when I was a young widow with a hungry child clinging to my skirt. I walked down the driveway slowly, every step echoing the same haunting thought. Asterisk, where did I go wrong? Asterisk, asterisk, the friend who held me up, asterisk. I arrived at Elena's home just past 10 p.m. She opened the door before I even knocked, as if she had been waiting. Her eyes took in the sight of my swollen, red-rimmed ones, the suitcase, the broken expression I couldn't hide. Maria. She whispered, what happened? I didn't speak. I couldn't. Elena pulled me into her arms, and that was enough to break the last piece of me still holding on. I began to sob, deep, shaking sobs that ripped through years of quiet endurance. She stroked my hair gently. SHH, come inside. You're safe here. Inside, she made chamomile tea, the same kind we used to drink as girls after long days of work. She sat across from me and waited, not demanding, not prying, just offering quiet presence. When I finally found my voice, it came out cracked and fragile. He told me that I am nothing to him. Elena inhaled sharply. That boy, she whispered, her jaw tightening. No. That man, he hasn't seen your worth in a long time. I lowered my eyes. He transferred the house into his name, said I signed it away. Elena slammed her hand on the table. You would never do that. What did he make you sign? My fingers shook. I trusted him. Her anger softened. Of course you did. You're his mother. I swallowed hard, not by blood. I whispered. Elena blinked. What do you mean? And so, for the first time in almost 3 decades, I shared the truth I'd buried deep within my heart. Asterisk. The truth buried in the past, asterisk. When I found Daniel at 22, alone on church steps, I had just lost my husband. I was broken and directionless, with nothing but grief anchoring me to a world that felt too heavy to stay in. Daniel had been left wrapped in a thin blanket, far too small and fragile for the cold night. Something inside me, maternal instinct, desperation, destiny compelled me to lift him into my arms. Child services arrived hours later. Social worker had tired eyes and too many case files. She told me I could be Daniel's temporary guardian while they searched for relatives. Temporary, she said, but days turned into months into years, and paperwork got lost, shuffled, ignored. I tried to finalize the adoption several times, but bureaucratic delays, missing documents, and misfiled forms prevented it. Eventually, Lawyer handed me a thin contract. Asterisk asterisk, conditional guardianship award asterisk asterisk. It granted me rights to raise Daniel as my own, but also contained clauses that no one bothered to explain, including the most important one, asterisk asterisk, if the child abandoned the guardian or exploited them financially, all property and assets tied to the guardian reverted exclusively to the guardian. Asterisk asterisk, Daniel never knew. I whispered I didn't want him to feel unwanted. Elena clasped my hand tightly. You protected him. You loved him. More than any biological mother could have. I wiped my eyes, and he still did this. Elena squeezed my hand. Then it's time you protect yourself now. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the discovery that changed everything asterisk asterisk the next day. Elena convinced me to retrieve my documents from the house. Daniel was at work. Lisa was out. I still had my old key. Walking into the house felt like stepping into a stranger's home. My pictures had been rearranged. My dishes were stacked in a corner. My bedroom door was closed, but I didn't linger. I went straight to the old mahogany desk in the living room, the one Daniel had begged me to keep when he was young because he loved hiding drawings in its drawers. My fingers traced the familiar wood. I pulled the bottom drawer open and found the envelope exactly where it had been for 28 years. That envelope contained asterisk, the guardianship contract, asterisk, Daniel's original placement papers, asterisk, proof of every financial contribution I made, mortgage payments, tax receipts, purchase logs, asterisk, and the clause that would change everything. I sat back in the chair and let out a long, trembling breath. This was my shield, my truth, my justice, and Daniel had no idea. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the lawyer who saw everything clearly asterisk asterisk, Elena, drove me to meet her cousin, asterisk asterisk, attorney Gabriel Ruiz asterisk asterisk, one of the sharpest minds in family law, a stern-looking man in his 50s. He greeted us with a firm handshake. He listened patiently as I recounted everything. Daniel throwing me out, the fraudulent deed transfer, the guardianship agreement. When I handed him the document, his eyes widened. Mrs. Alvarez, he said slowly, do you understand what this clause means? I think so. It means, he said, tapping the paper, that your son has absolutely asterisk, no asterisk legal claim to your home or assets, not now, not ever. The moment he expelled you and exploited your trust, he violated the contract. I exhaled shakily, so I can't get everything back. His lips curved into a thin, satisfied smile. Not just get back. You can take asterisk asterisk, everything asterisk asterisk he has acquired under your guardianship. His home, any bank accounts tied to joint assets, even the car you helped finance. He won't see it coming. Elena gasped softly. Maria, this is your justice. I lowered my gaze, my voice trembling. I don't want to ruin him. I just want what's mine. Protecting yourself isn't ruining anyone, Gabriel said firmly. He made his own choice. The lawyer gathered the papers and placed them gently on his desk. We file tomorrow. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the storm before the reckoning asterisk asterisk that night. I lay awake in Elena's guest room, unable to sleep. Every memory of Daniel flashed before my eyes. His toddler laugh at his school plays, his teenage disappointments, his adult triumphs, and then his cold voice, asterisk asterisk, you are nothing to us. Asterisk asterisk, I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to quiet the ache. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to destroy him. I didn't want to see him crumble, but I would not allow myself to be erased. The fall he pushed me into had awakened something I had forgotten existed. Asterisk asterisk, my strength, my voice, my right to stand tall. Asterisk asterisk, as dawn broke across the sky, I made a silent vow. I will not be silent anymore. And that was the moment everything changed, because the woman Daniel threw out in the cold was gone. In her place stood someone he had never met before, someone he never expected to face in court. The courthouse smelled of old wood, cold marble, and quiet battles. People walked past with stacks of legal folders, briefcases, and tightly pressed lips, each carrying their own wounds, their own hopes, their own secrets. I sat quietly on the bench outside courtroom 4B, my hands folded in my lap, the guardianship contract tucked safely in my purse. The morning light poured in through the tall windows, illuminating motes of dust that danced in the air like tiny spirits. I felt strangely calm. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid. Elena sat beside me, her hand warm on mine. "Whatever happens in there," she whispered, "you're not alone." Across the hall, Daniel and Lisa arrived, walking side by side with an arrogant confidence that formed a knot in my stomach. Daniel wore a tailored navy suit, the same one I saved for months to buy him after his job interview years ago. Lisa wore a sleek black blazer, diamond earrings, and a smirk that told me she believed they had already won. Daniel's eyes flicked toward me, cold, dismissive, barely a second of acknowledgement. He got close enough to speak without making a scene. "You shouldn't have done this, Mom," he muttered. "You're making things harder than they need to be." I looked up at him slowly. "Harder for who?" He opened his mouth, but Lisa leaned in, touching his arm. "Don't waste your breath," she hissed. "She'll lose." "She always does. Always." The word stung more than it should have, because it was true. In my life, I had always been the one who stepped aside, the one who compromised, the one who swallowed hurt quietly, but that woman had died the night they kicked me out. Gabriel, my lawyer, approached, crisp suit, sharp eyes, confidence radiating from him. "Mrs. Alvarez," he said softly, "are you ready?" I nodded. It was time. The courtroom the judge entered, a stern-faced woman with a reputation for zero patience and razor-sharp fairness. Everyone stood, everyone sat. Case number 2086 D. The bailiff announced. "Alvarez versus Alvarez." Hearing our names spoken like that made my throat tighten. Family should never end up here. But not every family is built on love. Some are built on obligation and shattered by greed. Daniel's lawyer went first. He stood tall, polishing his glasses for dramatic effect. "Your Honor, my clients Daniel and Lisa Alvarez seek to reaffirm rightful ownership of the property located at 427 West Wood Drive." He gestured toward me dismissively. "The plaintiff, Mrs. Maria Alvarez, transferred ownership willingly 2 months ago and is now attempting to retract a legal agreement out of emotional distress." I felt a slight sting, but Gabriel didn't flinch. Daniel's lawyer continued. "For 30 years, Daniel has been her devoted son. He supported her emotionally and financially. He and his wife simply requested privacy, and Mrs. Alvarez responded by filing a baseless lawsuit. His voice carried a tone of rehearsed sympathy. I watched Daniel nod solemnly, practicing the expression of a wronged child. Lisa squeezed his hand, eyes shimmering with calculated sadness. I wondered how long they practiced that look in the mirror. ****, Gabriel speaks ***. When it was our turn, Gabriel stood slowly, as if savoring the moment. "Your Honor," he said calmly, "my client did sign papers that her son told her were simple refinancing documents." He exploited her trust. Daniel's lawyer scoffed. "There's zero evidence of coercion." On the contrary, Gabriel replied smoothly, "There is overwhelming evidence." He picked up the guardianship envelope and held it lightly in his hand. "Your Honor, before I present this document, I would like Mrs. Alvarez to speak." My stomach twisted. I hadn't expected this. The judge nodded. "Mrs. Alvarez, please step forward." My legs trembled as I approached, but my spine stayed straight. I took a breath. "Your Honor," I began softly. "I raised Daniel as a single mother after losing my husband. I gave him everything I had and everything I didn't. I skipped meals so he could eat. I worked double shifts so he could go to school. I waited for him with dinner every night." My voice cracked, but I continued. "All I ever wanted was for him to feel loved, to feel safe, to feel like he belonged. And when he told me to leave the home I bought with my own sacrifices, he broke something inside me." A hush fell over the room. "But this case is not about feelings," I said firmly. "It's about truth." I returned to my seat. Gabriel placed a gentle hand on my shoulder before turning back to the judge. "Your Honor," he said, "everything hinges on this document." He placed the guardianship contract on the judge's desk. Daniel perked up, eyes narrowing. "What is that?" Lisa whispered something urgently, but he jerked his arm away. The judge adjusted her glasses and began to read. Hash hash asterisk asterisk. The moment everything changed asterisk asterisk. For several long minutes, the courtroom was silent except for the crisp turning of papers. Then the judge's expression shifted faintly at first, then unmistakably. She looked up sharply. "Mr. Alvarez," she said, her tone colder than marble, "were you aware that you were never legally adopted by Mrs. Alvarez?" The room erupted in murmurs. Daniel blinked, stunned. What are you talking about?" "She is my mother." "She is your guardian," the judge corrected, "under a conditional guardianship agreement." The adoption was never finalized. Daniel's face drained of color. Lisa looked like she had been slapped. The judge continued, "And according to this legally binding document signed by Child Services, the supervising attorney, and Mrs. Alvarez, any property, assets, or finances obtained during guardianship revert entirely to the guardian if the child commits abandonment or financial exploitation." Daniel's voice shot up an octave. "That's impossible. She never told me that." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Ignorance does not void legality." Daniel lurched forward. "She lied to me. I stood, my voice trembling but clear. No, I protected you. I didn't want you to feel like you weren't mine." He stared at me, breathing hard, eyes wide with betrayal he had no right to feel. You're doing this to punish me," he stammered. "No," I said softly. "You punished yourself when you threw me out." Daniel suddenly exploded. "No, you can't take everything. I worked for IT, Lisa, and we. This is our life." His scream echoed through the courtroom, raw and desperate. Lisa grabbed his sleeve. "Daniel, stop. You're embarrassing us." He shook her off violently. "Shut up, Lisa. This is your fault." The judge banged her gavel. "Order, order in this court." Daniel kept shouting. "She's nothing without me, nothing. She can't do this. I'm her son, I'm her." The judge slammed the gavel again. "Mr. Alvarez, sit down or you will be removed." But Daniel didn't stop. His voice cracked. His face twisted. His world crumbled in front of him. He screamed like a child losing his toy, not a man losing what he stole. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the verdict asterisk asterisk. Finally, the judge spoke with unwavering authority. "The court rules in favor of the plaintiff, Mrs. Maria Alvarez." Lisa gasped. Daniel fell into his chair, stunned and as pale as a ghost, effective immediately. The judge continued, "The property deed is voided, and full ownership returns to Mrs. Alvarez. All joint accounts tied to guardianship assets are frozen and will be transferred to her name. Mr. Alvarez is prohibited from entering the property." Daniel's mouth opened soundlessly, like a fish choking for air. Lisa slowly pulled off her wedding ring and placed it on the table. "I didn't sign up for this," she whispered. "You're on your own." And then she walked out of the courtroom without looking back. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the moment of justice asterisk asterisk. As I stood to leave, Daniel called out, voice cracking. Mom, please, I'm sorry, don't leave me like this. Please." I paused, I turned, and I saw not a man but the frightened, selfish boy he had always been. But something inside me had healed today, something that allowed me to breathe freely again. "I didn't leave you, Daniel," I said softly. "You left me?" His face twisted in agony, and I walked out, my steps steady, my heart finally free. The courthouse doors closed behind me with a quiet thud, sealing Daniel's screams inside like the last echoes of a past I no longer belonged to. For a moment I stood on the courthouse steps, feeling the sunlight on my skin, a small, gentle warmth I hadn't felt in months. Elena squeezed my hand. "You did it, Maria. You finally stood up for yourself." But I wasn't thinking about victory or retribution or the legal triumph Gabriel had masterfully orchestrated. I was thinking about the 30 years of my life that led me here, 30 years of holding a child's hand through every storm, only to be cast out like a stranger. I took a deep, shaky breath. "I never wanted to hurt him," I whispered. Elena wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "He hurt himself. You just stopped letting him hurt you." I wished deeply that those words brought me comfort. But justice, even when rightfully earned, can feel heavy. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the return home asterisk asterisk, the home Daniel had tried to take from me looked different now as I walked up the familiar driveway. It no longer looked like a cage. It no longer looked like a memory of shame. It looked like mine again. Gabriel handed me the keys with a small bow of respect. Congratulations, Mrs. Alvarez. If you need anything, papers filed, locks changed, additional protection orders, call me. Thank you. I said softly, for everything. He smiled warmly. It was an honor to defend a mother who defended her son for 30 years. Elena and I walked inside together. The air was still, quiet, empty. Lisa's designer decor was gone. She had already sent movers during the trial. Most of Daniel's things were gone too, but my lace curtains were still there, fluttering gently. My old photo frames. My vintage armchair, my memories. I placed my hand on the dining table, tracing the grain of the wood. I had saved for 2 years to buy this table. I remembered Daniel as a little boy, legs dangling off the chair, swinging back and forth as he ate cereal. I remembered laughter. I remembered hope. Elena's voice pulled me from my thoughts. You can rebuild now, on your terms. Rebuild. The word tasted bittersweet. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the boy at the door asterisk asterisk, that evening, after Elena left. I sat on the porch with a cup of warm tea, letting the quiet settle around me. Then I heard the footsteps, slow, heavy, hesitant, Daniel. He stood at the bottom of the steps, the same steps he had once climbed as a child, carrying Mother's Day cards made of colored paper and glitter glue. His eyes were red, his shirt wrinkled, his posture collapsed. "Mom," he croaked, "please, can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. He stepped closer. I messed up. I know that. I was stupid. I let Lisa influence me. She said you were holding me back, that we needed a fresh start. I believed her. His voice cracked with desperation. She left me. He whispered after court. She said I was useless without the money. She just walked away. He looked up at me, his face broken. I don't have anyone else. I closed my eyes. Those words, I don't have anyone else. How many nights had I said that about him? How many years had I lived with only him in my world? But the truth was painful and clear. He had someone else all along. Himself. He had chosen himself, his comfort, his pride, his convenience over me. Daniel stepped closer. "Mom, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. I swear, you're not nothing. You're my mother." I studied him for a long moment, searching for sincerity, searching for the boy I had once known. But apologies born from loss are not apologies, they're fear wearing a mask. "Daniel," I said quietly, "I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back." He blinked rapidly, panic rising in his eyes. You're kicking me out. You don't live here anymore," I said gently. "This is my home." His breath hitched. "Mom, you made your choices." I continued softly. "Choices have consequences. You can heal, but not here, not with me." He sank onto the bottom step, burying his face in his hands. I heard him sob. Not like a child, like a man whose world had fallen apart because he destroyed the only bridge that ever carried him. I let him cry, but I did not bend. After a long silence, he stood shakily. If I earn your trust again, someday will you let me back into your life?" His voice was small, fragile. I really looked at him. "If that day comes," I whispered, "I won't need to let you back in. You'll already be there." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "It means," I said softly, "that when you become someone worthy of love, not just from me, but from yourself, you'll find your way, whether I'm here or not." Daniel swallowed hard. He nodded slowly, broken, humbled, silent. Then he walked away into the night. I watched him go, not with bitterness, not with hate, with acceptance. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the years of peace that followed asterisk asterisk in the years that came after. I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I traveled, I took painting classes. I joined a community group for women who, like me, had been cast aside by the children they raised. I filled my life with new laughter, new friendships, new memories. Every year, Daniel sent letters. Some angry, some apologetic, some confused. I read them but never replied. Healing cannot grow in the same soil where trauma was planted. But I never hated him, not once. Hash hash asterisk asterisk the final good. By asterisk asterisk 10 years later, as I sat at a small wooden desk in my now bright and peaceful home, I wrote my will. I left the house the home built from sacrifice and reclaimed from betrayal, not to Daniel, not to any distant relatives, but to a foundation that built homes for abandoned children. Children who needed somewhere to belong, children who needed safety, children who needed what I had once given so willingly. As I signed the final page, I felt lightness quiet, gentle, liberating. Elena, who had grown older beside me, asked softly, "Do you regret anything?" I smiled faintly. "I regret nothing but the years I spent believing that love guaranteed love in return," I said, but even that taught me who I am. Outside, the sun dipped over the horizon, painting the sky gold. "Family isn't blood," I whispered. "It's who holds your heart with care." And that was the final truth of my life. The sweet revenge wasn't the court victory, it wasn't the house, it wasn't the justice. The real revenge was this. Asterisk asterisk, I built a life more beautiful than the one Daniel tried to take from me. And I finally said goodbye to the pain, to the past, and to the son who let go of me long before I let go of him. Asterisk asterisk.